You're watching Euronews now. I'm Tukumbo Salako with your top stories.
We want, as Europeans, to diversify away from Russia towards suppliers that we trust, that are friends and that are reliable.
The EU and the United States announced a new energy task force to reduce the bloc's reliance on Russian gas and oil. Ukraine says 300 people died in a Russian airstrike on a Mariupol theatre being used as a bomb shelter. And after Renault drives out of Russia, we'll be looking at other French big names that are resisting calls to shut up shop.
Europe and the US have agreed to a new energy deal on liquefied natural gas. US President Joe Biden and the European Commission have announced Washington will send an additional 15 billion cubic metres a year to the European Union, which will bring in a total annual amount of 37 billion cubic metres.
And the United States welcomed the European Union's powerful statement earlier this month, committing to rapidly reduce its dependence on Russian gas. Today, we've agreed on a joint game plan toward that goal, while accelerating our progress toward a secure, clean energy future.
Ursula von der Leyen thanked the US for its support, sharply criticised Vladimir Putin and made it clear that Europe does not respond well to blackmail.
As you know, we aim to reduce this dependency on Russian fossil fuels and to get rid of it. And this can only be achieved through, of course, first of all, investment in renewables, but also through additional gas supplies, including LNG deliveries. So we want, as Europeans, to diversify away from Russia towards suppliers that we trust, that are friends and that are reliable.
Friday's announcement follows a day of back-to-back summits in Brussels as Western leaders rallied to provide fresh support for Ukraine.
Well, EU leaders were joined by US President Joe Biden last night for an historic summit. It was the first time a US president joined an EU summit. They discussed the importance of Western unity, the importance of applying much more pressure on Vladimir Putin with increasing sanctions over the next while. They also discussed the importance of other countries to get on board and not circumventing sanctions, in particular China and India, who haven't declared that they're also going to support the sanctions regime against Russia. There was warnings from Joe Biden to China of the implications, the potential implications of supporting Russia economically or militarily. Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, also joined EU leaders, thanking them for the support, but also calling for much more military aid. Today, EU leaders are convening again for a complicated discussion about the impact of sanctions on growing energy prices, in particular gas prices. There doesn't seem to be any particular set of conclusions that will be outstanding, but we know that the Spanish Prime Minister, for example, is calling for a price capping on gas. There could be some agreement on that.
Authorities in the besieged Ukrainian city of Mariupol say 300 people died in the Russian attack on a theatre being used as a bomb shelter earlier this month. A short while ago, I spoke to our international correspondent, Annalise Borges, about what conditions are now like in some of Ukraine's hardest-hit areas, amid reports some people have begun dying from starvation.
Indeed, horrific reports coming out of the southeast part of Ukraine, that besieged city of Mariupol, perhaps the hardest hit by the fighting. Shelling keeps going on there for weeks now, and we've heard those horrific accounts from local authorities saying that they are absolutely out of supplies. Residents that were able to flee the city, and we heard reports that over the last 2 days, some of the humanitarian corridors have been successfully in evacuating civilians from Mariupol. Some 3,000 were evacuated on Wednesday, another 2,000 evacuated on Thursday. But we understand that the situation there is still dire. For weeks now, we've been hearing those reports of lack of food, water and electricity. And now local authorities say the situation is so dire that some people are starting to die from starvation. Local authorities here in Ukraine say they have been trying to get aid into Mariupol, but that has been virtually impossible for the last 3 days, Ukrainian authorities have been saying that they have 8 trucks and a fuel truck waiting to get in at a Russian checkpoint, but so far they haven't managed to cross the blockade.
Annalise, how is that news being received in Lviv, where you are right now? You're just seeing that scene where you are, behind you, people going about their daily business. You could be in any European city, across the continent.
Well, the atmosphere here in Lviv is very different from what we experienced in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, for example. Since getting here, we haven't been hearing those air raid sirens nor shelling or explosions. This is a city that has been hit over the last few weeks a few times. A air repair factory near the airport was shelled, as well as a military base some 50 kilometers to the west of Lviv. But for now, the situation is very calm here in this city. This has become home to tens of thousands of people who have been displaced by the fighting in other parts of Ukraine. However, in the north, east and south of the country, many have traveled here and have been waiting here to figure out what to do next. So there's obviously a lot of tension and, of course, sadness among many here who are trying to figure out just how long this is going to last, whether or not they will be able to return home. We did meet a family from Mariupol yesterday here in Lviv, and they were still very much in shock and devastated to hear the news coming out of their city about those deaths and about the constant shelling. Many say they haven't been able to speak to neighbors and friends from that city for several days now.
Ethiopia has declared an indefinite humanitarian truce in its war-ravaged northern Tigray region. The 16-month civil war has left more than 5 million people needing food aid, but none has been delivered to Tigray since mid-December. The war is believed to have caused the deaths of tens of thousands of people and displaced millions. Tigray's leaders have yet to respond. Wild celebrations by North Macedonia fans after their team caused a major upset in the World Cup qualifiers. They unexpectedly beat the reigning European champions Italy 1-0 in Palermo. The goal went against the run of play, stunning the Italians. North Macedonia now faces Portugal in the playoff final on Tuesday for a place in Qatar. Italy has not qualified for the World Cup since 2014.
Boarding a bus, hopefully to safety. These are some of the last people to leave Irpin, the flashpoint town on Kyiv's northwestern outskirts, after intense fighting and bombing has made it impossible to stay. Most had been sheltering in basements for the last 3 weeks. Once a sleepy suburbia, Irpin's strategic importance for Vladimir Putin's stall bid to encircle Kyiv has already left it devastated by some of the heaviest fighting in the war. Little Daria plays with her dinosaur mittens as the bus takes her family away from the fighting that has wrecked her home. It's her birthday today.
A bomb hit the house. The windows and doors were blown out, and we decided to leave. We were planning some candles and a cake for my daughter's birthday, but we had to leave it.
Meanwhile, Yaroslava has left with her family's 5 dogs.
They are like kids to us. They are very friendly, very playful, but they are scared of the explosions and of the shooting. I could not leave them behind.
The UN's refugee agencies say that 10 million people have now fled their homes, or about 22% of Ukraine's entire population. 3.6 million have fled to surrounding countries, while 6.5 million are thought to be displaced inside Ukraine.